Cause we wanna Blaze, cause he worked at the finish line. He told us like, all right, before the mall opens, this is the way that you can get into the mall when it's supposedly locked down, like before it opens. So it's like through like a garbage disposal area. So
back holes?
Like an employee entrance type shit, yeah.
So we snuck in through there and we was waiting at finish line before.
People waiting outside before they open the doors.
So we came, so they've been waiting outside for the whole night. We walked in right
morning
before
of.
the doors open, and like half an hour before the doors open, and we just chilling there. And so when they open the doors outside, they running upstairs, and they get upstairs and they see us just sitting there.
There's 4 of us, me, Vaughn, this dude who worked like overnight at Macy's or something, and somebody else.
Yeah, that's funny y'all say that. When I was working at Export doing the overnight, whenever like they had like 2 pair of Jordans come out when I was working there. And dude's like, y'all keep $60 if you could let me in through the back hall. And I'm like, I bet. He's like, yeah, I work at Macy's. I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. Gave me that 60.
Say less. Yeah, go right ahead.
The same way with some sneakers, like, yo, I'm seeing you. I'm like, all right, bro.
Be easy. I'll take that 60.
It was a pleasure and an honor, and I had to have him on the podcast to talk about a conversation that we had not too long ago, which I think is something that a lot of people are having trouble dealing with, and that's being themselves and feeling comfortable being themselves and believing in the things that make them different. Throughout my whole life, you've been one of the people, you know, I talked about something small, I hit you up to start the conversation, and I was like, yo, the way you used to dress, like, you used to have your colors, like, you used to be a little shade off here, a little shade off, and then when I was growing up, that used to tick me off, like, yo, why this nigga just didn't, like, alright, he got this blue, why he didn't get this blue to match this, and then, so I'm like, damn, like, why didn't he do that? So, I noticed that from young, and then one day I was just thinking about it years later, a couple months ago, and I was like, yo, why did you used to do that? Like, what was the thing with that? And so you gave me an explanation, and I started this conversation, but it made me think to where did that start for you, where you was like, yo, all right, I'm different than everybody else, you know, and start to become comfortable in that space?
So it started at an early age, like in elementary school. I would say for me more so because, you know, I was brought up in a Muslim household, you know, still a Muslim to this day. And when you go to school as a kid, right, and I started elementary school in Virginia at first, so everybody stands up for the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. So, you know, we was told, like, yeah, no, we don't stand up and pledge allegiance to a flag. So you got class of 20 kids around you all standing, you the one sitting down, everybody looking at you like, oh. After they whisper, hey man, why don't you stand up for the pledge? I don't do that, it's against my religion, right? So that's number one. So now you know, 6, 7 years old, like, nah, I don't do that, it's against my religion. It's now the same thing going through, like, you know, you get to early, you know, older, same thing, everybody standing up, you sit there. But at this point, it's like, yo, this is regular. I've been doing this for so long. So I've already been, you know, sticking out and, you know, on a different path than what from everybody else was on at such an early age. So that then led to, you know, knowing like, hey, you know what? I see everybody's doing this. Everybody's dressing a certain way, and, you know, everybody wants to do certain things. But I like that. That's cool. But I wanna do something different. So there was a point where everybody was wearing Adidas tracksuits. I'm like, the Adidas ones is cool, but I'm gonna give me a Nike tracksuit, right? I'm gonna give me a Nike tracksuit, all right? You know, everybody was wearing like graphic t-shirts, and, you know, we had a certain type of attire growing up through middle school, high school. But I'm like, nah, I like the preppy guy. Look, I'm gonna wear me a polo shirt, you know? So I'm coming to school in polo shirts, and you get the, oh, you look like Carlton because you got a polo shirt with the pullover sweater. So, you know, just really being different from that point on. And then you learn that somebody always has something to say. Like, oh man, that's corny. You know, you're just some preppy guy. Like that's whack. Nobody wants to do that. Okay, well, I'm not doing it for you to want to like it. I'm comfortable in doing it myself. I like the way it looks, so I'm gonna go ahead and wear this. And then one thing I learned with like trying to put stuff together is I would look at outfits and I'd be like, you know what? That actually goes. You know, it may not match to a T, but hey, it goes. So I'm a pretty observant person for the most part, and I would look at the shirts and say, okay, you got a bright yellow polo shirt, and the horse on it is like a pink, a orange, and normally you don't think of to throw something like that together. Like, yo, you wearing that highlighter ass shirt? What's up with you? So you do that. You're like, okay, oh wow, that pink. I gotta get something that goes with the small part of it. So now it's like, all right, you pick this shirt, this sweater, and it don't match perfectly because it's not the ring, but it's like, you know what? It goes though. If you look at it, it's kind of like, oh, it's a little off, but it goes. I see it. Yeah. So, like I said, just really starting from an early age, being different, not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, people asking you questions. Hey, why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? Back when we was coming through school, like, it was recognized, like people would tell you Merry Christmas. It wasn't like a happy holiday type of thing. So you respond back, oh, I don't celebrate Christmas. What? You don't? Well, what do you do? Like, everybody here celebrates Christmas. Nah, I'm Muslim. That's not what we do. So to be able to handle that so early on, and you got to be thankful to how you was brought up with your parents, equipping you and saying you like, look, it's okay. You're different. People are not going to agree. And then that just leads to you, branching off and being able to try the things, because I'm already different. So it's like, why not try to dress a little bit different? Why not try to wear this super light color? I like the way it looks. I seen it in like a magazine. It goes. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. So after that conversation, and you brought that up, it started getting me, just a little bit of why I connected to it, because we had that conversation, and I've always felt like I was different, always wanted to pride myself on being comfortable with being different, and I was like, where did that come from? So for me, I know it started with things like being a left-hander. Like, bro, I'm going to class writing, and people was like, yo, what are you doing? What are you writing like that? Like, and you know what I'm saying? People see it from jump.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that. Or when I go to baseball practice, I gotta make sure I get the left-handed glove. Or when I use scissors, teacher asks, is anybody in here left-handed? Everybody look around, nobody raising their hand.
That one guy.
You know what I'm saying? And then you come to find out, right, I raise my hand, and then after I raise my hand, now you got two other people like, oh yeah, I'm left-handed too. Like, oh, y'all didn't wanna, you know what I'm saying? So that brings me to my next question. Were there any, like, because when people are, I think the hardest part about being different and feeling comfortable within yourself is the fact that like you said, people are gonna say stuff to you. And was there any time where you felt bad about doing something different, and it was kind of tough for you in that moment? You had to kind of get through with maybe the teachings that your mom taught you, or stuff you learned through your family, through your growing up, one of your uncles, or whatever the case may be. Was there any times that you can remember where it was like that, where maybe something that you could tell somebody in the street like, yo, this got me through this, or this got me through that?
In my younger years, like, going through school, not so much. I don't have any like experience that was like traumatic to stick around and say, wow, because of that, it was really, like, damn, it helped me through. As I got older, yes, because it seems like, people become a little bit more bold. They can try to get a little bit more harsh. Like, for instance, right? So growing up, they had this kid, Drew, right? And
Shouts out to Drew.
yeah.
Right now, man.
So he probably was one kid who he would say some real slick shit out of his mouth.
That's a fact.
So I remember one time, he said something like planes would fly over where we would live. And this kid would say, oh no, Muhammad, call it off. Don't blow us up. Don't blow us up. And it'd be so random. You like, yo,
Kids
like,
are so foul, man.
you're a fucking asshole for that. Like, that one is like, damn, like, you calling me a terrorist. That's fucked up, That's probably like one that's kind of like, you know what? I see how dealing with some people, especially this particular individual, I'm gonna have some thick skin. Like, he dead ass just called me a terrorist. And it became a thing. The planes would fly over. Oh man, take cover. Don't blow us up. You like, yo, like, low-key is kind of like, I know he's like trying to make a joke of it, but like that shit kind of fucked up. Like, it's like, damn, I low-key feel away. So that's one experience. And you know, having people like that who would like say some fucked up shit joking to you, it's kind of like, oh man, I see how when you deal with certain individuals, you're gonna have thick skin. You have to be ready for, you know, some pushback. You're gonna have to be ready for people to say things that you're not gonna agree with. And you know, those small moments, like I said, thankfully it was nothing super traumatic, but those smaller moments do help equip you for, you know, more serious times later on down the line.
Actually, you know, not serious at all, but it was a funny conversation, and it's like kind of the reason why I think me and you clicked and we're so good friends, and ties back to, you know, you being comfortable within yourself and being different and challenging me and saying, yo, this is how I feel on this topic, and we can have a back and forth about it. You know, everything is respectful. We ain't calling each other out of their names and blah, blah, blah. And from the jump, it was like that. You know, we have our differences, and one of the differences, which, you know, Chris can have his say on it too as well. You had just visited Texas not too long ago, and you were like, yo, I really like being out here. Like, it was cool, it was calm. Like, you know, I would move out there. Like, I would be there. And like, thinking back on it now, it's so funny how things shape. You know, God is crazy. So I believe we had this conversation in my house, and I'm like, yo, like, nah, like, I'm never leaving New York. Like, what? I'm not going out to Texas. Like, you got these type of natural disasters that's happening out there. You got these type of animals that out there. Like, you don't gotta worry about that in New York. Like, you're good. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the best place to live. Blah blah blah. This and that. And this was my spiel. That's what I'm on. And this is before I had even ever been to Texas. You know, I was just so gun ho about what I thought I knew. And now, obviously, if you watch the podcast enough, you probably know, like, I live in Houston, Texas. That was the first place I moved to, you know, like, I'm a Houston, Texas resident, and that was the opposite of what I was saying at that time. Oh, yeah. With that being said, did you have to deal with that much? Because your mother, very tough, but like tough in a supportive way. Like, she'll have your back on certain things, you know, small little things, like, you know, when we used to work at Jab, she was like, yo, don't, you know, y'all could do all this over there, but don't mess with Vaughn, you know what I'm saying? I remember times like that where she would look out for me and stuff like that. My father really, I know my mother had my back too, but my father was boisterous about it. He would say, you know, if they messing with you in school, the teachers or whatever, or with something that you believe in, or you feel that something's not right, you don't do it. Don't do it. Don't fold to whatever they want to do. And you come home and you tell me, and I'm going to have your back. As long as you're not being a knucklehead, you're not deliberately trying to piss people off or do something like that. Was there those conversations when you were growing up to where, you know, you being Muslim, you're not standing for the pledge, you know there's going to be some teacher or some adult that has something to say about it. Was there times like that where she would say that? Was there examples that where teachers would say that, or whatever the case may be? So definitely with my mom, you know, she would tell us like, hey, when you're in school, you know, if a teacher says something to you that you don't like or that hurts your feelings, you know, like, I was more the quiet one. My older brother would more be the one to kind of snap back and react, you know. Me, I'll be like, at that age, quiet, you know, I'll probably be all looking sad and teary-eyed and whatnot, and, you know, go home like, hey, mommy, you know, this is what happened, right? And she would tell us all the time, you know, can't nobody force you to do something, like you said, that you don't believe in. So a teacher cannot force you to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance if that's something you don't believe in. And we did have teachers who, you know, you would stand, especially when you start a new grade, first day of school, Miss Autumn said, oh, no, you have to. So now it's like, oh, I have to. I'm being told I have to. So you stand up, you feeling crazy inside and whatnot. You go home and tell your parents. Mom comes to school the next day, talks to the teacher, principal Lowe's. Oh yeah, sorry, you know, we get it. It won't happen again. All right, respectfully, cool. And even, you know, when it came to, you know, asking for things, but hey, mommy, can you ask, you know, this person or uncle this or Abu or Grandma Kina, whoever else, Umi, you know, for something. No, you got to know how to go speak up and ask for something for yourself. I'm not going to ask for you. You know, you look at that person, you say, hey, I was wondering if you could help me with this or if you can give me that. I can't be doing these things for you. You have to learn how to do these things yourself. And then that's even when it came to speaking up. Teachers in schools, she would tell us, you know,
I don't want none of my children to be disrespectful. There's a certain way on how you go about saying things and handling things. If it comes to the point where, you know, it gets above, you could say like above your pay grade or above something, you know, you could just leave it at that. You come home, tell me, I'll go handle it from there on. But, you know, don't let nobody force you or tell you to do something that you don't do or that you don't believe in.
You know, I think that this is going to be a really powerful episode for a lot of people because they're having these issues and dealing with this stuff. And I also think that it's going to be really powerful for, you know, we got a lot of friends. Yourself, you have a child. A lot of our friends have children and starting to get to that age where they're going into schools and they're having these interactions with these other adults, these other authority figures to speak on, you know, your mom telling you, yo, you got to be the one to ask for certain things. You got to be the one to speak up for yourself. I remember I was playing football for CYL, and my dad was like, I was playing, and he was like, and then, you know, I was always a bigger kid than most of the kids I was on. So when I was on it, I was never fast. Always slower than everybody. So it was like, you a big kid and you slow?
Yeah.
Get your ass on that line. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
and it's funny you brought up that too, but go ahead.
So I was playing football and, you know, I was playing on the line, and if you've played on the line, you know
how it is.
It's like, you know, it's cool at the end of the day, but it's like you don't really get to like the next level to where you really understand football and really understand like how important those positions are. You don't really, to me, I didn't really understand, and I didn't really want to do it. It's just like, I'm just sitting on this line, pushing against these people. Like, it's bad, boy. I want to take the football.
You want to get on the action,
word. So I remember I wanted to quit, and I was like, yo, I don't want to go. I don't want to play anymore. But you know, with CYL, like, they sign you up at the beginning of the year, they pay their money, you know, you get everything, you know. And then with any team, like, y'all are dependent on each other to be there for each other.
That's a fact.
And so my dad was like, yo, all right, you don't want to go? Cool. You don't got to go to practice and suit up, but I will take you to practice, and you will tell your team why you don't want to play anymore. You're going to stand in front of your team, and you're going to let them know, to all your coaches and players, hey, I don't want to play for these reasons or whatever the case may be, because I'm not going to force you to play if you don't want to play. But you got to be accountable for your actions and let your team know who's depending on you.
That's a fact.
Why you're not going to be there for them.
Yeah.
I ended up finishing out the season.
Respectfully, I'm going to finish it out.
But so I ended up finishing out the season, but that taught me a lesson in life to, you know, like you said, be comfortable with speaking up for yourself. If you don't feel something, speak up for yourself, but don't be quick to just quit on people and not, you know, be accountable for your actions. And so now that you have a child, like, do you feel responsible to make sure that you stand up for them the same way or in similar ways that, you know, your mother, and not even just your mother, I don't want to discredit the rest of your family. Like, you got a bunch of uncles, shouts out to Dewey, Say Cool, guys that I've met personally that I know will have your back in these situations. So do you feel responsible to be there for your kid in those moments and make sure that in the ways that he's different or he feels comfortable being himself, you're gonna be there for him and make sure you got his back?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like, you know, speaking on him, man, being a parent is hard, yo. You know, being a parent is hard. So my son is 5 years old, and sometimes I find myself treating him as if he's 15, 16 years old. And I be having to catch myself like, yo, you're doing a little bit too much. You know, I gotta tell him to do things a bunch of times, because showing him once, he's not just gonna be good and go do it on his own. I gotta, hey, look, I just showed you yesterday. And I'm like, yo, I just showed you this yesterday. What's wrong with you? But then you know, later on that night, I be replaying it in my head like, yo, you was kind of a jerk. And I be feeling bad, like damn, son. So, yeah, like the same way, you know, my mom did those things for me. Like, speaking on the football story, I wanted to play football growing up, watching Remember the Titans and all of that. So you're like, oh, yeah, football's cool. And I started on the line as well, right?
Oh, really?
I started on the line, and I was like, yo, mommy, I want to run the ball. She's like, all right, well, ask the coach. Like, I'm not going to say nothing. You got to go ask him. And I'm probably about 8, 9 years old. So we was in the huddle one day. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was playing for West Babylon, and we had a youth football game in Plain Edge. right? We was in the huddle, and the coach was about to go over the play, and I just said, "Hey, coach, can I run the ball?" He kind of just looked at me. He was just kind of like, "All right, yeah, let's try it." It gives me a play to run it up the middle. I run it up the middle, breakaway, score a touchdown, gets called back. Yeah, first play, gets called back, right? He runs the same exact play again. Same thing happens. Runs it up, goes, scores a touchdown. It's like, oh, wow. And then from that point going forward, they put me off the line. I started getting in on the action. But it was a similar situation. Mom was like, hey, if you want that, you got to go ask. So now dealing with my son, and this just happened last week, right? I called him on FaceTime. It was Christmas Day. I'm seeing what you're doing, what's going on. He's like, oh, Merry Christmas, Daddy. So I'm like,
yeah, okay.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, yo, we don't celebrate Christmas. So he's just kind of like, oh, okay. Then his mom is like, in the background, like, oh, tell your dad what you told me earlier. So he knows how I am. So I could tell he just kind of got silent. I'm not gonna push the issue. I'm gonna let you ride. I love you. I'm getting ready to go to work. So I asked his mom, what did he say? She was like, he told me that he wanted to celebrate Christmas. Okay. And she's like, his mom don't celebrate Christmas. She's like, look, you gotta, she's like, I don't know as much as you to teach him about religion and being a Muslim, so you gotta kind of talk to him. I'm like, look, all I ask of you is you just tell him, like, yo, look, we don't celebrate, it is what it is, I'll take it from there. So I had a small conversation with him, letting him know, like, look, Noah, you don't celebrate Christmas. You got the month of Ramadan, you got the Eid at the end, and these are very important, special events that take place. I'm like, even when it comes down to your name, the name of Noah, that's you named after a powerful man, somebody who did something in this world. So, and surprisingly, at 5 years old, he gets it. He's like, oh, wow, really? And then, I just, of course, got to go more into depth and explain to him and let him know, look, this is why we don't do this. This is why, you don't see wrapped gifts and Christmas trees and lights, because this is not what we do. It's tough because not my whole entire family is Muslim. So, you got my grandma. He go to her house. She got a Christmas tree up. And I know, she like, oh, I didn't do. I know her. Like, lady, I know you. I've been around you 20-something years of my life, so I know how you get down. Yeah. I don't get mad or frustrated with it. I just say, all right, look, it's cool. But I have to constantly talk to him and tell him, like, listen, this is what we do, this is what we don't do, this is why. And I have to explain it in a way that a child can understand. Mm-hmm. And, he's different in his own sense as well, too. He's a lefty. Right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a lefty. He does everything with his left hand. He's a lefty. His name is Noah, which...
You're lucky. You're blessed, man. You got a lefty, man.
Lefty kid. Mm-hmm. He's very intelligent for 5 years old. He just says certain things, knows certain things. It's like, wow, I see what I'm going to be dealing with as he gets older. It also has to come with constant love. Constantly letting him know, hey, I love you. Wow, you're so intelligent. You're such a great kid. You're this, that, and the third. You have to constantly give them, that reinforcement, telling them these things, letting them know these things. So that way, when people do try to break them down out there in the world, they know that, you told me I'm suck, I this or that, but, I know my dad loves me. He tells me all the time. He tells me how smart I am. And, on top of it, it's not just empty compliments. He does these things. His mom was like, hey, look, in school, these were his grades. They had some standardized tests. Son aced the test, didn't get nothing wrong. So wherever they, were testing the kids to see where they're at, he exceeded everything. And it's like, I wasn't, that smart growing up. I was smart, but this kid, he's gonna be smarter than me. So, you're proud of those things. And again, you just continue to support your kid and you tell him, look, this is how you do this. You can do that. We don't do this because of these reasons. If somebody says something to you that you don't like, you can come and tell your dad. You can come and tell daddy it's okay. I'm gonna be there to help you, to support you, and make sure everything is fine.
I personally feel like nobody is necessarily smarter than the next person. Mm-hmm. Like, and I know, like, I'm just now figuring out how to get around that word. Yeah. With calling people smart and saying, yo, this person is smarter, smart this, or I'm smarter. It's, I like to say that people are capable, and some people are more capable than others, in my opinion, because it's like in your brain you got a bunch of little tentacles and ways that your brain can go and avenues that your brain can take off with it.
Yeah.
And it's based off your experiences and how you think and what you come from. And so when you're a kid and your parents tell you, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, stay in the child's place, don't ask me about this, do as I say, not as I do. Just, if I tell you to do something, I don't have to explain it, just do it. Which, you know, to a degree, you gotta understand and listen to your parents and because sometimes you could be in a tough situation where, God forbid, you know, there's a car coming and your mom is telling you, yo, get out the street. Your mom don't have time to explain to you why you need to get out the street or whatever it may be. You just gotta listen to them at that moment, you know. So I understand that, but at the same time, when you're telling your kid, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, you're starting to cut off those avenues, because they thought in that moment where they was doing whatever that was the right thing to do. Which, in all honesty, like, I don't believe that anybody's a bad person, bad kid. I think that they just are trying to express themselves, and they need the right avenues to be able to express themselves, or else they're gonna get into adult things or mischievous things that, you know, with them just trying to express themselves, that these things weren't not necessarily designed for you to be able to do that. So I would say that these kids are highly capable, and I think that your kid, you know, your mom and your family laid the platform for you to be more capable at certain things. And then now with you having your mindset, now you're taking it to another platform where Noah will be at a different level, to where he's even more capable of following these different paths in their brain because of what you've learned and what you've gained over the years. What level of importance do you think that is to a kid's life, and maybe to your life and to your son's life? Do you think that is to constantly preach love and preach, you know, I'm gonna tell you, I don't want to just tell you why things, I don't want to just tell you what to do, I want to tell you why these things are the way that they are.
So the reason why it's important is because if you do something within your household, right, you, yourself, your children, whatever the case may be, they don't have to leave the household to seek it elsewhere. So if he's constantly getting compliments in the house, and his mom is telling him, I love you, I'm telling him I love you, and, you know, we're molding him to be a certain way, he don't got to go to school and, hey, teacher, look what I did a good job. He don't got to look for those compliments because it's something he's already getting. And, you know, in regards to, like, you know, parents telling you just to do something because I said so, I fall under that umbrella when it comes to certain things. Like, look, I'm telling you, put your toys away. I don't have to give you a reason why, but put it away. Maybe it's time to do something else. Now, depending on what it is I tell him to do and he asks me why, I'll explain to him, look, you got to put your toys away. We got to go. We don't have time for this. Or, you know, hey, Noah, go put your bowl in the sink, leave it there. You know, I'll clean it up later, but you need to know how to clean up after yourself in the moment. Ain't no maids here, right? As everybody says, I ain't no maid. So, hey, look, so you can sit here, you can eat, you can watch TV. Once you're done, clean up after yourself. Go put it in the sink, throw whatever in the trash. That's just teaching little small responsibilities along the way that lead to bigger things. So I'm not expecting him to, 5, 6 years old, go start washing dishes. But you ate something, it's done, put it where it's meant to be. I'll take care of it from there. You had a little fruit cup, you just ate something, you're done, go throw it in the trash. Don't just leave it sitting on a, on a table or here or there, because as a child, they'll leave it there if you don't reinforce and say, hey, clean the bathrooms, go throw it away. When you're done eating, make sure you throw your garbage away. They're not gonna know these things. It'll just be, I'm just leaving it there because that's just what I do. And, you instill that in them at an early age, because you're molding your child to be a certain way. You're molding them to have, some sort of structure in their lives, and not everything just kind of being willy-nilly and herky-jerky, willy-nilly all over the place, right? So, within doing that, you have to give the compliments and the love, because you don't want to just seem like you're being a drill sergeant 24/7. Like, even when we used to coach, like we can't be on 1,000 all the time and never like, yo, man, by the way, that was pretty sweet. I seen that, yeah. It makes him feel like, oh, all right, cool. He's not just on me all the time. And like he'll get on me, but then it's, hey, by the way, that was a really good job. So I just had to take different things that I've been through, done in life, apply it in parenting, and know, like, all right, you know what, yeah, He's going to do things that's going to piss me the hell off. And I'll just kind of look at him like, I really want to smack the shit out you right now, but all right. And then he'll see the look, and he'll know, like, oh, daddy, my bad, I'm sorry. And then later on, let's say he does the same thing again, and it's, oh, daddy, I'm sorry, but my reaction is a lot different. So like one time, you know, he was with me over the summer. He peed in the bed, right? So I'm knocked out, you know, I'm hearing somebody moving, like, yo, what the hell's going on? So I look. This is how you know he's smart. He goes get a towel, puts it over the wet spot. So I see him like, yo, what are you doing? So he looks. I'm like, what happened? He's like, oh, I peed in the bed. I'm like, all right, it's okay. I'll just worry about it later. So he kind of like, oh, I thought I was going to get blasted. So, you know, I just tell him like, look, you know, now when you go to bed at night, just know that I'm not letting you get no more water, no more juice, because I don't want you to pee in the bed. We want to try to alleviate that. Or I myself as the parent, if I know I'm up 1, 2, 3 in the morning, he's asleep, I'll go wake him up, hey, go use the bathroom. So you just got to do these small things, create reinforcement. You know, you're molding your child to have certain good habits as they get older. You filling it with compliments so they know that they're loved at home. They don't got to go seeking love from someplace else. They don't have to go seeking attention from elsewhere because you give it to them. You're constantly giving it to them, and they know, like, yo, my parents love me, my mom loves me, my dad loves me. He tells me all the time. It's probably annoying to hear, but hearing it constantly, getting it constantly, he knows that he's loved, he gets the attention, and he's doing things well.
So that is a great point, and I wanted to, because I've been preaching this over the last few days that I've been here, having certain conversations, I've, you know, and over the years, you know, I realized there was a point where I just started thinking about life, and I just really wanted to thank my parents, because I was like, yo, in life, there's opportunities to go other ways. Ways that, you know, may not necessarily benefit you. And you may know, you know, I think whenever Jim Jones got a line in a song where he just says, like, even when I was doing the most foul stuff, I always heard in the back of my mind, like I always knew in the back of my mind that I was doing something wrong. Like, I always heard that voice in the back of my mind. So when your parents and your family instills in you love, and they tell you, yo, I love you, I'm here for you, support, like you said, you don't have to go outside and look for those things. You know, my friends or people who I've seen, period, fall into certain pitfalls and traps that life brings for you, they were outside. You could look, like, I remember there was a time where I was just looking at all the people that I seen falling into these traps, and I'm like, looking at their background, and I'm like, damn, that's where it comes from. That's where it was, because they were outside looking and saying, like, I was able to, like, for instance, a lot of my friends started smoking and drinking earlier than me. And smoking, period, like, because I never smoked. So my friends started getting into these activities a lot earlier than me, and I was known as the guy who was like, nah, he's not gonna do that. Like, you know, Vaughn don't do that, to the point where they would defend me, or somebody else would come in the picture, somebody new, and they'd be like, yo, why don't you do this? They'd be like, nah, you don't do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I was able to make those decisions when my friends came to me at an early age and said, yo, let's do this. No, I was able to say no, because it's like, whether y'all take this no and say, fuck you, I'm not fucking with you, I don't fucking care about you, you don't hang out with us no more, what of that. Whether they said that or they didn't and embraced me, either way, I'm going home. I could walk back home and y'all don't want to talk to me anymore? I'll go home and talk to my sister, my mom, my dad.
That's like, it.
Same thing with the women in my life. I've expressed to them, like, yo, all of this, like, oh, yo, they make you, with relationships, a lot of times it seems like they make you feel like, or you should need to want to be on the phone all the time, or need to want to talk every day, have certain conversations and do this and do that. And I'm comfortable with, like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't need all of this stuff. Like, you got to bring something serious into my life because that's not what I'm lacking. I'm not lacking love. Like, I don't need that from you. I don't need that attention from you because if I was looking for that and you weren't there, I could call up my parents. My mom was gonna ask me, "Oh, how's your day, boo? Like,
there you go.
How you doing?" If I was home, Joe, how you feeling? If I need to be taken care of, my family is there to be that rock for me and help me along the way. So I don't need that from you. So, you know, to kind of get your opinion on that and how, because we've had these conversations, and this all ties back to being different and being comfortable within yourself.
Yeah.
Like, we've had these conversations about the women in our lives and having these, you know, not feeling a need for these certain things. Like, how do you talk to them about how you feeling in these moments when they want to do these things, when they want to experience these things, and you just not feeling it?
So, man, my issue, man, is like, there's just a lot of stuff that in my mind, I'm like, yo, it's not that serious. Like, I didn't tell you about how work was, because for me, it's really not that serious. Work was some shit. But, you know, as a man, like, I don't really have to come home and talk about it the same way you do as a female. They're like, oh, like, why don't you talk to me? Why don't you tell me about work? Man, I don't want to really sit to talk about work. Like, they piss me the hell off. Now, if you're not around me in that moment for me to vent, like, yo, can you believe? Because when something pisses me off, I'll talk about it 5 times within that moment. Once an hour go by, sometimes go out, I'm kind of done, you know, it's gone or whatever. So it's like, by the time I get home and by the time I talk to you, it may not be a topic of discussion. Oh, well, why didn't I know that? Why didn't you tell me that? It's like, to me, it really wasn't that serious. But to them, things be, you know, serious. Like, oh, you know, well, how come every time you're on the phone and, you know, whenever you don't have nothing to say, you just be wanting to get off the phone? I'm not about to sit here and breathe and just listen to your background noise. Like, I'm not doing it. So me, I just kind of be like, all right, well, look, you know, I'll call you later, I'll text you, right? And until it's said, like, hey, look, I just like being on the phone. I like, even if I'm just hearing you breathe, it just makes me happy to know I'm on the phone with you. So you kind of like, all right, okay, let me go within myself to try to work on that, because, you know, maybe this, like, all right, for you, it's something serious, it's something important. Like, I guess I could be somewhat all about myself, all about Muhammad, a little bit selfish, so you got to work on it. All right, you know what, whatever. You cool with me talking to you for a little bit, kind of being silent. As much as it's bothering me on the inside, it's working for you. So, all right, whatever, 5-10 minutes, and then you'll say, all right, well, you know, go ahead, do what you got to do, and just call me, text me later. Oh, all right, cool, perfect. Have a good day, I'll talk to you later. We good. But I left it up to you to say when, like, you felt comfortable to say, all right, you know what, I got what I needed from him, all right, cool, you know. And then, on the topic of, like, seeking it elsewhere with our friends and stuff, we got a friend, right? Growing up, he was an interesting dude. In the beginning, I couldn't stand him, you know, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand his ass, right? And then one summer, he was like, yo, y'all doing a summer job thing? I want a job too. So I'm kind of like, damn, I don't really like him like that. Like, he's an asshole at school. He's this, that, and the third. But I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, here, man, you know, this application, come join us. And so he spent the whole entire summer at my house, right? So imagine coming home one day, you're like, yo, that's the dude from school. Like, he low-key be trying to bully me. I don't like him. And he's in your house. Yeah. So you kind of like, oh, this is mad weird. But whatever. He stayed there the whole summer, right? And over that summer of him being there, he became a different person because, you know, his upbringing, what he was going through in life was different. So he got something from being at my household that he wasn't getting elsewhere. And, you know, everybody saw the difference in him. You know, he became like a little bit more relaxed. He, you know, turned into like a giving person, and, you know, his whole vibe and thing was different. And then when he left the situation and kind of went back to normal, things started to crumble again a little bit. You know, and it's like, you know, that was like, when you said that, I'm like, yo, that, you know, reminds me of this person, because that's a clear example of, you know, when you lack something, you know, you kind of go looking for elsewhere, you fall into certain traps and certain things in life, but then when you have it, you can kind of see how, you know, it carries you differently and it affects you. Because even himself said, like, yo, you know, your mom took me in as her own. My mom already had freaking 5 kids. Exactly. So it's like, you know, you got this other kid, you know, coming in, you staying there, you eating there, but he would be like, oh, Miss Hasiba, you know, can I help do this? Here's a little bit for that. So it just helped him become a better current because he felt the genuine love. And, you know, when you get that, you receive it, helps you become a better person. And like you say, even when it comes to dealing with, you know, the women in life, it's like, yo, there's just certain things that we feel like, me you talk about all the time, like, it's like certain things, it's like, yeah, nah, that's kind of dumb. Like, I'm not pressed about that. And then, but for the women, it's like, nah, you know, it's important to me. Like, I want to call you, or I want you to text me sometimes throughout the day and let me know what's up. So you think about it, you're like, for what? Like, I'm at work.
Yeah.
Don't you got a job? Like, what do you do at work that you have mad time to want to talk to me?
Come on, Tommy. Like,
exactly. But you gotta take a moment. You gotta pause. You gotta look within yourself, and you actually have to hear what the person is saying. All that person is really saying is they want your attention. They want some time from you, even if it's a small text like, "Hey, work is going good. You know, what time you go on lunch? If I have a moment, I'll give you a call." They just want those small things.
Wait a minute. Muhammad been doing it. And we can talk to a bunch of different things, whether it be not riding around with a bunch of music all the time.
That's a fact. That's a
whether
fact.
Whether it be fasting, you know, all of these different things that you have been on from a long. And I told you a while ago, like, I be thinking about things in my head. I'm like, damn, you know, Muhammad, even the color scheme, I hit you up and I say, yo, you know, I started looking into the way I dress, and I'm like, oh, you know, I could throw the colors off, and that's what made me think about you. You know what I'm saying? So you've allowed me, with having being your own person and who you are, you've allowed me to now branch off and do these things and have the support in those areas, because I've seen somebody do it and be successful with it. You know what I'm saying? And, right. So with all of that being said, I was just talking about this to somebody, and I was like, I think. I'm not gonna say I think no more. I'm gonna say right now here on the podcast, this year I'm gonna do Ramadan with you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I need to get back to fasting. Get back to having a discipline with that, with fasting and controlling my body as far as eating certain things and not eating certain things at certain times. So, this year I'm gonna do Ramadan with you. You know what I'm saying? Whenever that starts, let me know. We're gonna get to it, and that's how we ending it for the community podcast. My guy MU, you know your host Jimmy Shooter. I'm gonna holla at you guys.
All right.
Here it is.